Okay, sir.
WhatsApp and we can join. Okay, so today we'll be starting with what are the different operators that we have as part of Java so that we'll be using. We are going to discuss about it. Okay. So we'll use a lot of operators when we are writing some logic. Okay, so those operators are named as like unary operator, arithmetic operator. Then we have like relational operator. Then we have like logical operator. And we have like bitwise, ternary, and assignment operators. Okay, so these are the operators that we are going to use. So unary operator would be have like only one symbol that will be used, like plus plus or minus minus. Okay, so it can be a pre-increment, post-increment, pre-decrement, post-decrement. Okay, so for arithmetic operators we have plus minus. Then we have like multiplication. So we can call it as plus minus multiplication. So division and modulus. Okay. So these are the operators for the arithmetic. So next we have like relational operators. In this relational operators, we are going to have this less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and we have like a instance of. We'll discuss little later. Why do we use this instance of? So logical operator we have like the bland, double R, and then bitwise operator we have, and mostly we'll be using and or. Then ternary operator, we have like kind of question mark and we have a colon here. So assignment operator, have u equals to, then we have like plus equals to, minus equals to, and etc. Okay. So we'll discuss about why do we use this all and what are the usage of this. Okay. So assignment operators. So when we talk about this unary operator, so unary operator basically how does this exactly helps us is like, so we have two types of operators that will be used as part of unary. So we'll discuss with examples. Okay. Operators. So here I'm going to create some variables here. So in this, we'll be first discussing about like unary operator. Okay. So unary. So I want to perform some actions like, there is another variable that I'm going to take. C is equals to crystal define C. Okay. Let me add them as like local variables itself. Okay. So I'm going to now assign some values. Okay. Unary operator is like A is equals to C is equals to A plus B. So I'm going to print the value of C. When I go and execute this, I can see there is a value like A plus B is getting added and it's showing, it is printing the value as like C. Okay. So in meanwhile, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to use, so they are like pre-increment. Okay. So this is nothing but pre-increment. So before considering this value for this operation, okay. So that's nothing but A plus B. Or before considering this value for the next level, like for example, you can see I want to print the value of C here. Okay. So what exactly happens in this case? In this case is like pre-increment is like first it will increment. That's nothing but the value of A is 30. Okay. So what happens here is like it's kind of like A plus 1 plus the value whatever we have. This is B value. Okay. So first it's going to increment, then after it's going to perform some action on it. Okay. So now you see the difference here is like the value earlier we got 30, now we'll get the 31. Okay, the reason is like first it's going to increment, then after it will consider this operations. Okay. So this is for pre-increment. Okay. So I'll take same example. Now, what is the value of C? Like 31. Okay. So now you can see the value of A is like 11 because we have done the pre-increment. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is like, I'll just consider the post-increment. Okay. Post-increment. I'll comment this line. Okay. So now you can see the value of A is 30 and the value of B is 20. Okay. So after completing this here, after printing this value, so again I want to print the value. Again, I want to print the A value here. Okay. I want to see what is the value of it. Okay. So let's do one thing. I'll do it in this way. Print the A value here. Otherwise, we can have this A value printed here also. See, what it happens is like, it will first consider this value. When we go to the next statement, then this value get incremented. Okay. So for the operations, whatever we are trying to do, it will have the original value and the value that we want to print, the A value. What happens here is like, it's going to consider, this is nothing but it's going to increment the value, then it will print the value of A. Okay. So let's go and execute this program and see. So we have 11. That's nothing but the value that whatever we are trying to print A is like, it got incremented plus 1. That's nothing but during this operation, during this course of operations, what is happening is like, it's going to consider its original value. It's not incrementing. Okay. When does it increments its value is like when the next statement, when we are trying to use this A value, right? So there it's going to get incremented. But here in this case is like, it's going to consider this A value during the operations. But this is like, post operation. This is pre-operation. This is post operations. Okay. So after action is performed, then we are going to consider the value. That's nothing but the A value is like incremented. You can see A value and the C value. Okay. So this is the difference between pre-incremented.
Shrikant, I have a question about this, that A value has been incremented, but why not C value?
Yeah, that is what. See, we are performing the actions here, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll try to print it. So that's what I just try to print it here. I can see. So what is happening here? So do you get it? But the thing is like, see, I'm trying to print the C value. I'm not printing the A value here. So I'm trying to print the C value. That's nothing, but it is already the action is performed and I want to see what is the result of C. Okay. But here, the thing is like, when we consider these operations, now the A value will become A plus plus. That's nothing but 10 plus 1. So that is 11. So it is printing 11. Okay. So here in this case, if you try to print the value of A, so let's go and try to print the value of A before. So here also you would be getting the same result. But you see 31, 11. This is the value of A and this is the value of C. Because here you can see we are considering that value before performing some, that's nothing but we are incrementing the value of A before performing some actions here. That's nothing but operations, arithmetic operations. Okay. So here we are trying to take, this is A plus plus is nothing but post increment. Post increment in the sense, it's going to first consider its original value, then it will get incremented. So that is post increment. This is pre-increment is like, it will increment by 1 along with the original value, and those values will be considered during the operation. This is during the operation, this is after the operation. Okay.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so this is like, when you execute this, you'll get different result here. But the thing is like, because A value will get incremented, right? So that's the reason why it is going to print it as like a 12. Okay, so let's put it in this way so that it will be easy for you to understand. I can say this is 11 because A plus plus is happening and C value will be like 11 plus 20, 31. And A value is like 11 and 31. So here in this case, A value is already incremented. Okay, so 11. So now during the operations, what is happening is like, it will ignore the original, it will ignore this plus plus, it will consider its original value. That is 11 plus 20, 31. And after this action, this course of actions, so what is happening now? A value become A plus plus, that is 12. Okay, 12 and 31. So this is the difference between both of them. Okay, so let
Okay,
me
sure.
yeah. So let me consider. So I'm going to write them in the methods. Don't worry why this method is like written in this way and also just I'm writing some methods. Void the increment creating the operator. Okay, so here I'm going to create a object. So I'll tell what is object and all. So don't worry about what is object and all for the current scenario. Just look into this. What is pre-increment and post-increment? Okay. So pre-increment I'm calling here post-increment. Okay. So I'll try to write some value here. Value of A is, let's say, okay. So when we call this pre-increment, I can see the value of A is 11 and it's, sorry, it should be C value here. Okay. I'll just 1131. So here post increment, that's nothing but the value is like already, yeah. So value is like already considered, like no original value is considered here. And after that, we are trying to increment it. So that's nothing but 11 becomes 12 and here it's like 31. Okay. This is post increment and pre-increment and post increment. Okay. So we'll try to do the same actions for pre-decrement and post decrement. Okay. So here minus minus, after this minus minus. Okay. So that's nothing but what is the original value of A? 10. Okay. So it will become 9. So 29. So here it will be showing as like 9. And what is the value of it? This is 29. So but here in this case, it's like it will be displaying the value 10. Here it is like 20. Not 29, sorry. So what is the original value of it? 10. 10 plus 20. So it should be displaying. Let's see what is the output. Okay. So I may be wrong, but let's see what is the output of it. Okay. I want you guys to understand it. So because how do we exactly use it? So that is the reason why I will be giving some false statement here, but you have to correct me. So what is the output here? What are we exactly adding here? Value of A is 11. Because the value which is already considered, here we can see the value which is already considered. Let me just comment this line, piece of code. so that we can get the original values because we have already performed some actions on them, right? So that is the reason why. So 8 and so what is the value that we are expecting here? Is like 9 and 29. This is fine, but what happens to this? Now, what is the value of A here?
8.
8. But why why it is printing like I am expecting 10, but why it is printing 8 now?
Because upper value is 9. 8.
Yes. Here it is 9. So 9 will be considered here. So 9 plus 10 is like 29. And 8 is coming because we have already performed some actions on it. Now it's going to decrement by 1 and it's going to print the value as like A. And the value will be like 9, 8. Okay. So the value will be like 8. But what I was expecting? This is invalid value. So that is the reason why I want you to be focusing on this. Okay. So now the value will become like 8 and 29. Okay. So try to think about it, guys. So how exactly this works? Okay. So it's like if you are performing some set of pre-increment, post-increments, pre-decrement and post-decrement. So it's like if you want to consider some value, that value should get incremented before the action should be performed. Then we have to use pre-increment. Okay. Pre-increment or pre-decrement. Or if you want to decrease the value. If you want to consider this action, then you want to increment it or decrement, then you have to go with the post increment or post decrement. Okay. So this is the difference between two of them. I'm sorry for this, guys. Yeah. So here, because these values are like, A and B values are and C values, they are undergoing some set of operations. So that is the reason why we'll get the output, like different output from this. Okay. When I'm calling in a sequence, so what happens is like already the actions are performed on those variables. So now we get different variable values here. Okay. So because every time we call this function, so some set of actions will be performed on it. Okay. Are you clear with this, guys?
Yes, Shikha.
Okay. So let me do one thing. I'll just create a separate object for this and we can see if something changes here. Okay. Now you can see there is a different because the values for this object is different. The instance values get reinitialized. Okay. So that is the reason why we are going to get the value. The required values, whatever we are expecting. Okay. So this is unary operator. We'll go with the arithmetic operator. Sorry guys, I have bad code. Arithmetic operators. Now here also I'm going to create some methods. Public void. I'll say add. Otherwise, I'll give add. Okay. So here also I'm going to specify some values. Int A is equals to 10. B is equals to 20. We have a C value. So C is equals to A plus B. So this is nothing but simple addition. Okay. So this is addition. So likewise, what are the different operators that we have here? We have discussed about like these are the operators, right? Arithmetic operators. Okay. Let me put this subtraction. So here we have multiplication. Here we have division. A divided B. And we have like modulus. Modulus, we use the percentile. Okay. For everything I'm going to create, I'll be having this main method. Okay. Operator. I'll say add to Otherwise, I'll take E1 equals to two, three, four, one dot add, two dot action, three dot action. Finally, modulus. Okay, so we don't see much difference between addition, multiplication, and subtraction. We have a straightforward answers for this, right? A plus B, A minus B, A into B. And division is like it. What is the difference between division and its division and modulus is like? So division, what it's going to do is like the quotient, whatever we have, like we have like divisor, dividend, and divisible by, and we have like divisible, and then we have like quotient and remainder. Okay, so so here what we happens is like quotient, whatever we are going to get, okay, integer value of, so that is like we have a resultant. Okay, so a divided b, a divided by b. So let me just show you what is the resultant value that will be considered as part of division and modulus is like, let us take a value. Okay, so a value is divided by, what is the value that we are going to consider? So let us like if we take 10 divided by 2. Okay, so bad at writing this. Let me just try to write it now. Okay, so 10 is a value. 10 is divisible by 2. Okay, so 2 5s are 10. It is 0. Okay, so this is nothing but this is the result for the division. Okay, whatever we are going to get as like quotient, that is nothing but resultant. Okay, so this is like, this is the value will be considered for the division and remainder will be considered for the modulus. Okay, so this is the resultant value of division and this is the resultant value of modulus. Okay, so let's take 10 divided by 2. Okay, so now we can observe the output. Let me write. What is the value that we are going to consider is like addition versus plus C subtraction multiplication addition to concentrate on this two, the division and modulus. We'll see what is the output of it. Okay, so what is that we have discussed here is like, this is the resultant value of 1 second. So this is the resultant value for the division and this is remainder is nothing but resultant value of the modulus. Okay, so whenever we are using this symbol, so it's going to give the resultant value as like a remainder and this is like a quotient that we are going to get. Okay, so dividend divided by, and we have a quotient and then we have a remainder. Okay, so these are the things that we have to consider when we are working on this arithmetic operator. So simple arithmetic operators like a plus b, a minus b, a into b, a divided b, and a modulus b. Okay, so these are the arithmetic operators, but we have to remember these things very, like these are very important for us. Okay, so whenever we are using division, we will be taking the quotient as the value resultant, and here it's like modulus. Whenever we are using the modulus, we'll be getting the remainder. Okay, so based on this, we'll see these few programs. Okay, so how do we reverse the number, and and how do we consider the values, like what exactly values will be considered as part of division and division and modulus whenever we are using. the logic for reversing the numbers. Okay, so we'll see those programs there. Okay, so this is about the arithmetic operator. Are you clear with this, guys? So what are the arithmetic operators?
Yes, Shrikant, but I have doubt what we have taken the value of A and B, 10 and 20. No? Okay, 10 and 2. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I changed this value here.
Okay, okay.
Okay, if you want, you can use it, but I just want to show you some result here because you see some difference here. So I don't want to get confused for now. So I'm making it as like 10 divisible by 2. So we'll get the easy answers.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Okay. So we'll get the remainder here and we get the question here. Okay. Are you clear with this, guys?
Yes.
So we look into the other operators. What are the operators? Logical operator and yeah, we have two things here. So logical and bitwise operator. One will have like single and, another single R, single and, another will have like double and double R. Okay. So we'll see first. Let's discuss about like bitwise operator first. Okay. Bitwise operator. So I have some value A is equals to 10 and B is equals to 20 and C is equals to some 30. Okay. So don't worry what I'm writing here. I'm just writing a simple program. If A is greater than B and A is greater than C. Okay, let me write it in separate method. Calculate word. Check number. Okay. So some method name I'm just writing it. A is greater. Okay. So this is the number that I'm putting here. I'm just writing check number 1, check number 2. So A is greater than B and A is greater than C. A is greater than B or A is greater than C. Okay, if any one of these things happens here, so it's going to show that A is greater. So if any one of this happens here, so it's going to show the A is greater. Okay. So let me take some greatest value here and we'll be discussing now how does this exactly works when we are trying to exclude them. Okay. So bit I'm going to give here, and then I'm going to use as bitwise. Then I'm going to call this. Check num. So bit dot check number. Next is like bit dot check number. Okay. So just I want to get the method name here. So we have another approaches that we can get the method name, but you say check num. Go here and try to execute this program. See what happened here. Okay, I just called this. Okay, A is greater, A is greater. Here it's saying that A is greater than A is greater. What exactly happens here in this case is like you can see. Sorry guys. So here it is like 100 is greater than B. Okay, 100 is greater than B. This is true. Okay. So behind the scene, what happens is like true. True and now what is the value of A? 100. 100 is greater than C. Okay. So what is the value of C? It is kind of like 30. Right. So true and true. What is the result? This will become true. Okay. So I think you might be already aware of this table, right? What we call them as like I'll just erase this one. Truth table. Okay. So what we call them as like truth table. Okay. So I'm just trying to define this truth table here. If we are using AND operator here, okay. So if you are using AND operator, AND is nothing but both should be true. Then only it will give the result as like true. Okay. So now you see here we have true and true. Okay. So let me just take some values. Okay. So I'm giving as like true and true. So I'll remove this one. So this is not required. Okay. So what is the result here? What is the result I'm going to get here is like both of them are true. Then I'm going to get the true value. Okay. So in this case, if any one of this is false, then I'm going to get the value as like false. Okay. So true, false, false, true, true, we'll get the true. False, true, we'll get the false. True, true, then we'll get the true. Okay. So and condition, both of the conditions should be true. Then only that condition will be like working. Okay. So whatever like values we have, like in this case, what we are doing is like we are trying to compare the values. So here we are trying to compare the values. So I'm comparing this value and this value. Okay. So if both of them are true, then only I'm going to get the result as like true. Okay. So let us take like if we have something like 300. So here we have to write another else statement for that. But we are just trying to check this. Okay. So here what happens is like you can see A is greater than B and A is greater than C. If this becomes true, then it's going to go and check for the next value. That's nothing but next comparison will be done. Okay. So in case of false, if this becomes false, then it's going to go and check for the next statement. Okay. Remember this one. What I'm talking is like it will check for both of the conditions. Okay. In bitwise operator, it will check for the both of the conditions. Okay. If this condition is true, it will go and check for this. If condition is false, it will go and check for this. Okay. Do remember this, guys. We are going to discuss some difference between logical and bitwise operators. So here in the next case is like you can see A is greater than B or A is greater than C. So what is the R condition here? R condition is like any one of the thing is like true. Any one of the thing is like true. Then the value will be like true. Okay. R condition is like if any one of the condition is true, then the output will be like true. If both the condition are false, then only the output will be like false for the R condition. Okay. So if both the condition are false, then it's going to give the resultant as like false. Okay. Otherwise, in our case, if any one of the condition is true, for example, we have true, false, 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 false. What is the output for the R condition? True. But in case of AND condition, okay. But in case of AND condition, see, in case of AND condition, what happens is like any one of this statement is false, then it will turn into the false. Okay, we have true, 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 true. Then finally we have false. Then the result would be like false. Okay, the output will be like false. But here in this case, R condition, if any one of the condition is true, then it will turn into the true. If in AND condition, if any one of the condition is false, then it will turn into the false. All the conditions should be true in case of AND. If it is not mandatory, like if any one of the condition is true, then it will turn into the true in case of R condition. Okay. So now we'll go back to this program and try to see the difference here. First is like both of them are true, so I'm getting this output. Here, one of them was true, one of them are true, then we are getting the output. Okay, let us consider this value. Let us put some value. This one is like A is greater than B, and I'm putting 300 here. Okay. So for our convenience, I'm just writing some else statement here. So else C is greatest. So same block I'm writing here. See what is happening? C is greater. So one condition is false here. Okay. A value is 100 and C value is like 300. So one condition is false. So it is showing this is the result. C is greatest. So but here in this case, we have same set of conditions here, but we are putting the R. Okay. The first one is true. Then it is showing like A is greater. Okay. What the difference? In case of the AND, in case of OR operator, like any one of this is true, then it will consider true value. In case of AND condition, if any one of the false is like false, then it will turn whole the result as like false. Okay. So we'll take the same example in case of logical operator, but I'll show what is the difference between logical and bitwise operators. Like we have same set of actions. Okay. There is a same set of output in both of the cases. But the difference is like the execution, okay, the time period of execution and considering of these values. Okay, so let's take this. Well, trying to type this. I'll execute and you'll see this is the output for the bitwise. Okay, I'm just going to copy it and store it here somewhere. Okay, so this is for the bitwise. For logical operator, I'm just executing this program. Okay, we need to add one more and here. Okay, and here also we need to add one more R. See what is the output here? You have the same output. But what is the difference here? What is the difference between bitwise and logical is like, see, I'll tell you. This is very important, guys. Try to focus on this. Bitwise operator, if the first condition is true, then it will go and check for the second condition. Okay. So again in second scenario, take the second scenario. The first condition is false. Okay, first condition is false. Still the false condition, there is a false condition. But yet it will go and check for the next condition. Okay. So if it is false, it will go and check for the next condition. In case of logical operator, focus is very important, guys. If first condition is true, in case of AND operator, okay, if first condition is true, in case of AND operator, it will go and check for the second condition. If the first condition is false, it will not go and check for the second condition. Okay, for example, here you see, if it is true, it will go and check for the next condition. Okay, maybe it could be false. But in case of second scenario, like we have first condition false, now it will not go and check for the next condition. Because of this reason, this is faster. Okay, logical operator is faster in case of like when we compare with bitwise operator. Okay, so that is the reason why we'll be using most of the times logical operator. If this condition is true, in case of AND, it will go and check for the next condition. If this condition is false, it will never go to this particular condition. Okay, next condition, whatever conditions we have. Okay, so we may have hundreds of conditions defined here. C is equals to A or something. Okay, so and A is greater than B. So this will not check. Okay. So what it does is like when we have this condition is true, in case of AND condition, it will go and check for this one. It will go and check for this one. Okay. So likewise, it will keep on checking for the rest of the conditions. Okay. But the only condition is like all the conditions, whatever we are trying to get should be true. Then only it will move to the next condition. If any one of the condition is false, then it will ignore that. Okay. Ignore rest of the conditions. Here in case of this is reverse. When we find this one as like true, it will directly come out of this and it will execute. Okay. It will assume that rest of the condition is like whether it is false or true, as we discussed here, right? So what we have discussed here, there could be n number of false, but at least if you find one true, then there is condition like you can see the output of this R is like true. Okay. But in case of AND condition, there could be n number of trues, but only one false condition will turn into the false. Okay, so that exact reason, like that is the difference between bitwise and logical, and the exact reason for using these logical operators. Okay, so if this is true, it will not go and check for this one. If this is false, it will go and check for this one. In case of OR operator, in case of AND operator, if this is false, it will not check here. If it is true, then it will go and check for the next one. Okay, so this is the reason why. So we will be using the logical operator most of the times for checking our conditions. Okay, so this is the basic difference and important difference between bitwise and logical operator. If somebody asks you in the interviews like what is the difference between logical operator and bitwise operator, you can explain it. Okay, in case of AND condition, if the first condition is true, then it will go and check for the next condition. If it is false, then it will not go for the next condition. Okay, it is reverse in case of OR condition. If first one is like true, it will not go and check for the second one. If first one is false, then it will go and check for the next one, because next one could be true. That is the reason why it will be checking for the next conditions. Otherwise, everything is similar, like bitwise and logical. Only that thing is like it will be performance when we look into the set of differences between bitwise and logical. Are you clear with this, guys?
Yes, Shrikant.
Okay. Thanks. Let's go and discuss about the next ternary operator. Okay. So ternary operator is like very simple, and it's like kind of a single statement that we are going to use. For example, if you have some values here, comparison. Okay. So you want to see what is the output of it. So it can produce output like integer, Boolean, string. So here, I'll just save this program. A is equals to 10. B is equals to 20. Okay, I want to store the output here and take the main method here. So I'm going to check for the condition. Okay, what is that output? C is equals to, how do we write is like A is greater than B, and we have to use the question mark symbol and we have to give the value. Okay, so if it is greater than, A is greater than B, then it will return 1. Otherwise, it's going to return me 0. Already defined here. Okay, system out. We're trying to print what is the value of C. Right click and run as. So what is the value? What is the value of A? 10. 10 is greater than 20, false. So that is the reason why this value is. Okay, I'll tell you what is the syntax of it is like, very simple syntax. Condition, question mark. If it is true, it will return this value. Okay, true. Otherwise, false. Okay, we'll take the same simple example and we'll try to store the value in Boolean. Okay, bool is equals to Boolean, bool is equals to. I'll consider the same scenario. A is greater than B. True. What is that? We have to use symbol. This is a symbol that we have to use. Okay, question. Okay, so I'm going to execute. It is false. Okay, so it is as simple as like writing if A is greater than B. So how many lines of code that we are minimizing is like equation. Right? This is true. Now you see, so we have written altogether is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines of code or something. We execute, still we get the same output. So here we have written it in a simple single statement. Okay, so I can see how is it printing the value. Okay, so that's nothing but only single line you can check the condition. This is called ternary operator. Okay, Ternary operator is like we have a condition and we have an output for this. Okay. If this is true, it will execute this one. If it is false, this will execute this one. Okay. So this is called ternary operator. Okay. Are you guys clear?
Yes, Shrikant. I have question that you have written initially in A in about the main method, and then you have written the what is the difference that we write.
This is
Then
instance variable actually, and this is main method. And we are like, we'll discuss about this. Why I'm writing this actually, because the static, we don't define, if we define these values as like, class instance variables. Okay. So instance variables will not be accessed in case of static context. Okay. So this is static. So I need to make it as like a static. I don't want to confuse you guys. That is the reason why I'm just making them as like a local variable here. Okay. So we'll get the same output here. But the thing is like, we are defining this as like a static. Okay. So static is like a bigger topic that we'll be discussing down the line. But whenever we define anything at class level, these are called instance variables. Okay. So instance variables. So for instance variables, initializing the instance variable, we use constructor. So these are little different topics. Okay.
okay.
So I'll just make it as like a local variables here. Only look at this kind of things actually. If you are talking about like ternary operator, please focus on this. Okay. Don't worry about why I'm writing this static, why I'm just defining this variables outside inside. Okay. So just you need to understand is like what the essence of using this ternary operators and different operators. For now at least. Okay. So after that, we'll discuss in detail. I'll explain everything. So then, okay, yeah, thanks you. So next is like assignment operators. So again, here I'm going to take arithmetic operators. So you see all we have written here, right? So I'm going to take the same set of copy of this program. So I'm going to use the assignment operator here. So to make it simple. Okay, so I'll just see. I'm going to okay. So here what I'm trying to do is like, here I'm going to call all of them addition and multiplication. So what I'm going to do is like, see if I'm using, I want to store this value in A. This is nothing but A plus is equals to B is like A is equals to A plus B. Okay. So A minus is equals to is like, these are like assignment operators. I'm just performing some actions and I'm just trying to use them. Okay. So now you can see. We have to give value. Okay, we don't have any value in C. That is the reason why it was showing 0. A into is equals to B. We can minimize this. Okay. So if instead of writing, this is similar to when I just execute this program, you can see what is that. Okay. So A plus B is like, what is the value of A? 10. And what is the value of B? 2. So this is nothing but what is the representation internally? What happens is like, it will be converted like this. A is equals to A plus B. Okay. So this is nothing but assignment operators. So what we are doing is like, we are adding these two values and we are storing this value into A. Okay. So what is the initial value of A? 10. And after adding these two values, what the A value will become is like A is equals to A plus B. That's nothing but 10 plus 2. A will be overridden. That's nothing but A is equals to A plus B. So which will show the output as like 12. Okay. So likewise, we can minimize the code. Okay. So now what I'm doing is like A divided is equals to B. And here also A modulus is equals to B. We'll get the output here as we got the output for the arithmetic operators. So this is what we have for the arithmetic operators, right? The same output we are getting for the assignment operators. So that is nothing but we are minimizing it. Okay. Instead of writing A is equals to A plus B, we'll be simply writing it as a shortcut. Okay.
Okay.
So what are the other things that we have to discuss? Yeah. So we discussed about unary operator. That is, those are like plus, plus, minus, minus, post increment, pre-increment, post increment, pre-decrement, post decrement. And then we have like arithmetic operator, plus, minus, multiplication, division, and modulus. And relational operators also we have discussed. Logical operator, bitwise operator, ternary and assignment operators. Okay. So with this, we have completed the operators and we'll be talking about the conditional control statements tomorrow. After that, we'll be looking into the conditional looping. Okay. So meanwhile, we'll see what are the typecasting actually. So when we have the sequence, okay. So let me just show an example. So that will be discussed tomorrow. But here I'll show you. Okay. So we have sequence of this, right? So first, what comes when we have this primitive data type is like byte. So which is smaller than all of them. Like after that, we have a short, then integer, the sequence of storing the variable values. Okay. So based on the data type, primitive data type, long, and we have float, like down. Okay. So you can store the value of byte in short, and you can store the value of short in int, and you can store the value of int in long, and you can, like, these are these little floating values. When we say floating values, we are talking about, like, we have decimal points for that. But in case of, like, numeric values, okay, let me just remove this one. In case of numeric values, you can define, like, byte. Just create a small program here. So we'll say typecast. So here I'm going to create a main method. So if I have some values defined here, byte b is equals to, I'm going to put some value. We have the ranges, right? So spaces that is allocated for variables, like, byte variables will have how many number of spaces we have for the byte variables? 8 bits of memory.
8 bits.
Okay. For short,
16 bits.
16 bits. Okay. So I can store this value like this. For int,
32 bits.
32. Okay. So you need to remember this, guys. Okay. For a few days, you need to remember what is the size that we are going to allocate. Okay. So here you can see this is the size actually. So you have like byte 8 bits, character 16 bits, short 16 bits, integer 32 bits, long 64, float 32, double 64. Okay. So what is the range of it? You can see these are the ranges actually. Okay. So short will have like 32. I mean, like, you need not to worry about this, but when we are programmatically working on it, we'll automatically understand what is the size that we have for each and every data types that we are using as part of the variable value. Okay. So here integer, I'm going to put something as like this much, and long L is equals to some value, and I'm going to specify this as like this. Now you see that I'm going to put long L is equals to B. So what is happening here? L is a variable and B is a variable of byte. I'm able to store this value. Okay, let's try to print this. What is the L value here? This is the L value. But what is the L value after this assignment? So it is changing its value. So what should be the output for this?
10.
10. Okay. Can we do it in a similar way for this other variables? B is equals to L. Because it is already converted into the value. But what is the value of L? See. What it says is like type mismatch cannot convert from long to byte. Okay. Long to byte. You can store the values in a bigger spaces, but like, no. Big things cannot be stored in a smaller space. Okay. So that is the reason why it is throwing the error. So for this, what we have to do is like we have to convert that long into byte. How do we do it? We are going to do it by typecast. Okay. Now it assumes like, now what we are doing is like, this is nothing but narrowing down. Okay. Narrowing down. So we are narrowing it down to the byte value. So this is nothing but typecasting. Okay. So now you see what is the output. So we get the output. We get the output as like 10. Okay. So for example, we have a short value here. Okay. SH is equals to SH plus byte. Why is it throwing the error now? See, short and byte, we have like, this is a value, bigger value, and this is like little smaller value. But we are trying to store both of them in a bigger value. That's nothing but I'm just adding short and byte and I'm storing it to the short. But still it is throwing the error. So what is the reason?
Shorter plus byte, it will be more than that.
Yes, sometimes it can be more than that, and it's like it will not be accepted by the compiler. So what we have to do is like we have to widen that. So what we have to do is like otherwise we can change it to the convert it to the short, or we can convert into the integer. Okay, so we can make this one as like otherwise you can see it is the same problem with the int also. Okay, so now when I save it, now you see what is happening now. So it is widening. So it is nothing but it's widening. So let me put it as like short itself. Okay. So we are making a bigger space here. Okay. So now I'm telling compiler that, okay, compiler, now you can treat this one as like a short. Okay. So when you are trying to add byte and short, short and short, and byte and byte. So this could be the errors that you would be facing. So what we have to do is like we have to typecast. We have to convert them into a bigger sizes. Okay. So now I'm going to add like short. So it will not throw any error because we have typecasted it. Now I'm going to remove it. You see what is that? Short and short. It is throwing the error, and it says like add cast to short. Okay, so cannot convert from into the short. It's saying that integer both when we add byte to byte, byte to short, short to byte. So what happens is like it's going to throw this error. So in this case, what you have to do is like you have to explicitly specify this one as like a short. Otherwise, that's nothing but we have to widen it. So here what we are doing is like we are narrowing down. We are making that long into the byte. Okay. So but here is like short into the integer. We have to move that values to short into the integer or short into the short. So for this, what we have to do is like we have to typecast it. Okay. So when you say short, simply it will not throw the error. Otherwise, you can take integer value and you can store it. Okay. Remove this. Now you see you don't get any error here. Okay. Because it is very easy, right? Byte plus byte you are adding and you are storing it to the integer. Okay, but integer plus integer, and if you try to store it in a short, then what happens is like it will say error because we don't have memory. We cannot convert short, we cannot convert integer into the short. So that is the reason why it was throwing this error. Let me try to show you another one is like b is equals to some b plus b. So here also you'll get the same error. So it says like byte plus byte you cannot store. That's nothing but cannot convert from into to byte. Okay, this will produce the integer. So that is the reason why it was showing. If you want to make it explicitly like narrowing it to byte, so there also you can see it says like still 1 second. Yeah, byte of byte it's saying. Let me remove this one. See what it is doing now. Okay, now we are explicitly telling compiler that okay, yeah, I'm adding 10 plus 10, not anything like some 30,000 or 40,000 values. So please consider this one as like a byte. So what I'm doing is like I'm narrowing down. So this is nothing but here when you are specifying something. So see, widening it will automatically do when we have like integer is equal to short plus byte, it will automatically do this widening. Okay, but in case if you are specifying something as like short, so what we have to do is like for example, you'll try to add something as like n here. So now it's going to throw the error. So in case if you try to store it in a short. Okay. So what we have to do is like we have to widen it. So otherwise we have to change this as like a integer. Okay. So instead of doing this, what I'm going to do is like I'll say n. So internally it will do the same thing here. Okay. So we don't get it. So this will be done like inclusively, it will be performing this typecasting. Okay. So this is the reason why this, we need to make sure that whatever type of variables that we are using, and whenever it is like kind of, it's not matching. Like for example, if you want to store long into byte, if you want to store integer into byte, if you want to store short into byte, then we have to explicitly do the typecasting. Okay. Are you clear with this, guys? So this is like basically when you are adding byte plus short and you are storing in integer, that will work. But when you are adding byte plus short and you want to store it in short, then we have to explicitly change that one. Okay. So you can see it will not throw the error. But when you remove this, it will throw the error. That's nothing but it will say that type mismatch cannot convert from integer to byte. Okay. So for that, you have to explicitly do it. This is nothing but narrowing down. So widening is like here it is widening. So we are increasing the space order. Okay. So this is typecasting. Okay. Are you clear with this, guys?
Yes, Shikhar.
Okay. So let's meet tomorrow and we'll start with control statements. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time. And please practice.
Okay. Yes.
Let me know if you have any doubts. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.